So, tonight we can have a story from when we were very young by AA Milne, and this is a story about bears. Have you heard a story about bears before?
Yes.
Now, do you know what you must never do when you see bears around? Yes. What must you not do?
I don't know.
Well, you mustn't step on the lines. You have to be very, very careful, because if a bear sees you stepping on the line, he'll say, "He's mine," and that will be the end of you. Because you know the bears love to eat little boys who step on the lines. So whenever you're going around the corner, just in case you're not sure if there's any bears, look where you put your feet. Because you never know if you're going to put your feet on a line, and if you put your feet on a line, the bears are just waiting to eat the sillies who don't look what they're doing with their feet. Shall I read it to you?
Yeah.
Whenever I walk in a London street, I'm ever so careful to watch my feet. And I keep in the squares and the masses of bears who wait at the corners all ready to eat. The sillies who tread on the lines in the street go back to their lairs. And I say to them, "Bears, just look at how I'm walking in all the squares." And the little bears growl to each other. "He's mine," as soon as he's silly and steps on a line. And some of the bigger bears try to pretend that they came round the corner looking for a friend. And they try to pretend that nobody cares whether you walk on the lines or the squares. But only the sillies believe their talk. It's ever so important how you walk. And it's ever so jolly to call out, "Bears, just watch me walking in all of the squares." And now we can have a story.
But James, what's yours?
Oh, the James who lost his mother?
Yeah.
That's a good story. Yeah, so a little story about a little boy who told his mother she must never go down to the town.
You can find it.
I'm looking for it, yes. Told his mother she must never go down to town and she doesn't go down with him. But she went down to town anyway. Naughty mother. And that was the last they saw of her. He went looking for her. He put up a notice, but nobody knew where his mother has gone. She should never have gone down to the end of town. She's disobedient. Disobedient means she doesn't follow the instructions. James, Morrison, Weatherby, George, Dupree took great care of his mother, though he was only 3.
Like me.
Like me. James said to his mother, "Mother," he said he, "you must never go down to the end of town if you don't go down with me." James Morrison's mother put on a golden gown.
What? Where is it?
There, she's wearing the gown. The gown is like a costume, like something you wear. James Morrison's mother put on a golden gown. James Morrison's mother drove to the end of town. James Morrison's mother said to herself, said she, "I can get right down to the end of town and be back in time for tea." King John put up a notice. "Lost or stolen or strayed, James Morrison's mother seems to have been mislaid. Last seen, wandering vaguely, quite of her own accord, when she tried to get down to the end of town. 40 shillings reward." James Morrison, commonly known as Jim.
Why is this wind going him?
So he doesn't go too far away. His mother's got him on a string.
But why?
So he doesn't ride too far away. He's only 3, he could ride away. James Morrison, commonly known as Jim, told his other relations not to go blaming him. James said to his mother, "Mother," he said he, "you must never go down to the end of town without consulting me."
You would never go to the town house until something me, okay, Daddy?
Okay then. James Morrison's mother hasn't been heard of since. King John said he was sorry, so did the Queen and the Prince. King John, somebody told me, said to a man he knew, "If people go down to the end of the town, well, what can you do?" Now let's say it together. James Morrison, Weatherby George Dupree took great care of his mother because he was only 3. James said to his mother, "Mother," he said he, "you must never go down to the end of town if you don't go down with me." Right, shall we read another one? This is a little boy who dreams he's going to be king one day. He's dressed up like a king with a crown on his head, and he's carrying a sword. There's all his soldiers and his horses. And this poem is called "If I Were King." I often wish I were a king, and then I could do anything. If only I were a king of Spain, I'd take my hat off in the rain. If only I were king of France, I wouldn't brush my hair for aunts. I think if I were king of Greece, I'd push things off the mantelpiece. If I were king of Norroway, I'd ask an elephant what to say. If I were king of Babylon, I'd leave my button gloves undone. If I were king of Timbuktu, I'd think of lovely things to do. If I were king of anything, I'd tell the soldiers I'm the king. Now, do you want to say your prayers later? Let's see how this little boy says his prayers. Have a look. Little boy kneels at the foot of the bed, droops on the little hands, little golden head. Hush, hush, whisper who dares, Christopher Robin is saying his prayers. God bless Mummy, I know that's right. Wasn't it fun in the bath tonight? The cold so cold and the hot so hot. Oh, God bless Daddy, I quite forgot. If I open my fingers a little bit more, I can see Nanny's dressing gown on the door. It's a beautiful blue, but it hasn't a hood. Oh, God bless Nanny, and make her good. Mine has a hood, and I lie in bed and pull the hood right over my head. And I shut my eyes and I curl up small, and nobody knows I'm there at all. Oh, thank you, God, for a lovely day. And what was the other thing I had to say? I said, bless Daddy, so what can it be? Oh, now I remember, it's God bless me. Little boy kneels at the foot of the bed, droops on the little hands his golden head. Hush, hush, whisper who dares, Christopher Robin is saying his prayers. And now you have to get in bed, my little boy. Another one? Okay.
That one. Maybe this.
Rice pudding is a naughty girl. Okay, get in bed now, read the rules.
Okay.
What is the matter with Mary Jane? She's crying with all her might and main. And she won't eat her dinner. Rice pudding again. What is the matter with Mary Jane? What is the matter with Mary Jane? I promised her dolls and a daisy chain, and a book about animals. All in vain. What is the matter with Mary Jane? What is the matter with Mary Jane? She's perfectly well, and she hasn't a pain. But look at her, now she's beginning again. What is the matter with Mary Jane?
What are these things?
What is the matter with Mary Jane? I promised her sweets and a ride on the train, and I begged her to stop for a bit and explain.
What are sweets?
What is the matter with Mary
What are
Jane?
sweets?
What is the matter with Mary Jane?
It is sweets.
This is the doctor, I think, and that's Mary Jane hiding under the bedclothes. What is the matter with Mary Jane? She's perfectly well, and she hasn't a pain. And it's lovely rice pudding for dinner again. What is the matter with Mary Jane? Do you like that one? What do you think the matter with her is?
This one now.
Okay, this one is called Missing. Has anyone seen my mouse? The little boy's lost his mouse, I guess, and everybody's going to look for the mouse. Has anybody seen my mouse? I opened his box for half a minute just to make sure that he was really in it. And while I was looking, he jumped outside. I tried to catch him. I tried. I think he's somewhere about the house. Has anyone seen my mouse? Uncle John, have you seen my mouse? Just a small sort of mouse, a dear little brown one. He came from the country. He wasn't a town one. So he'll feel all lonely in a London street. Why, what could possibly he find to eat?
He's here.
Ah, you found him, haven't you? That's right. There's the mouse hiding by the fireplace. He must be somewhere. I'll ask Aunt Rose. Have you seen a mouse with a waffly nose? Oh, somewhere about. He's just got out. Has anybody seen my mouse?
I don't know.
Let's read another one about the king and the queen. The king wanted some butter for his bread. Are you ready?
Yeah.
The king asked the queen, and the queen asked the dairymaid, could we have some butter for the royal slice of bread? The queen asked the dairymaid. The dairymaid said, certainly, I'll go and tell the cow now, before she goes to bed. The dairymaid, she curtsied and went and told the Alderney. The Alderney's a cow. Don't forget the butter for the royal slice of bread. Into bed if you want the rest of the story. I'll be gone in a minute.
No.
The Alderney said sleepily, you'd better tell His Majesty, Moo, that many people nowadays like marmalade instead. The dairymaid said, fancy, and went to Her Majesty. She curtsied to the Queen, and she turned a little red. Excuse me, Your Majesty, for taking the liberty, but marmalade is tasty if it's very thickly spread. The Queen said, oh, and went to His Majesty. Oh, talking of butter for the royal slice of bread, many people think that marmalade is nicer. Would you like to try a little bit of marmalade instead? That's what the Queen asked the King. The King said, bother. And then he said, oh, dearie me. The King sobbed, oh, dearie me, and went back to bed. Nobody, he whispered, Nobody could call me a fussy man. I only want a little bit of butter for my bread. The Queen said, "There, there," and went to the Dairymaid. The Dairymaid said, "There, there," and went to the shed. The cow said, "Moo, moo," or "there, there. I didn't really mean it. Here's milk for his porringer and butter for his bread." The Queen took the butter and brought it to His Majesty. The King said, "Butter, eh?" and bounced out of bed. "Nobody," he said, as he kissed her tenderly. "Nobody," he said, as he slid down the banisters. "Nobody, my darling, could call me a fussy man. But I do like a little bit of butter on my bread."
This is the last one.
All right, they get in bed and be the last one.
This way last one.
Come on then, put your feet under the blanket, head on the pillow, and I'll read it to you with your head on the pillow. Nothing to look at, okay? Last one's going to be this one. It's called Halfway Down. It's about a little boy who's halfway down the stairs. He's not at the top, he's not at the bottom. He's neither up nor down. He's halfway up and he's halfway down. The little boy's sitting on the stairs. He's not at the top, he's not at the bottom.
Can I get that? Can I get that bottle?
Well, we'll see. Let me read the story. Halfway down the stairs is a stair where I sit. There isn't any other stair quite like it. I'm not at the bottom. I'm not at the top. So this is the stair where I always stop. Halfway up the stairs isn't up and isn't down. It isn't in the nursery. It isn't in the town. And all sorts of funny thoughts run round my head. It isn't really anywhere. It's somewhere else instead. And that's the end of the poem. About being halfway up the stairs or halfway down the stairs.
Again.
You want me to read that one again? All right, I can read it one more time. Little boy who's halfway down the stairs. And the poem is called Halfway Down by...
Get down.
Yes, if he wants, but he likes to stop on the middle step halfway down because it's neither up nor down and he can think. And lots of things go in his head when he's thinking. Halfway down the stairs is a stair where I sit. There isn't any other stair quite like it. I'm not at the bottom. I'm not at the top. So this is the stair where I always stop. Halfway up the stairs isn't up and isn't down. It isn't in the nursery. It isn't in the town. And all sorts of funny thoughts run around my head. It isn't really anywhere. It's somewhere else instead. What's the last one called? That little boy says his prayers. Then we've done If I Were King. Let's see if there's another one we haven't done.
Okay.
Lie down, please. This one's called Growing Up. I've got shoes with grown-up laces. I've got knickers and a pair of braces. I'm all ready to run some races. Who's coming with me? I've got a nice new pair of braces. I've got shoes with new brown laces.
What was that?
I know wonderful paddly places. Who's coming with me?
What's this?
The shoes. Lie down, please, darling. Get a good sleep. Every morning, my new grace is, thank you, God, for my new nice braces. I can tie my new brown laces. Who's coming with me? The last one, very last story, is called The Alchemist. An alchemist is like a magician or a conjurer. He can do magic. A female alchemist is called a witch, I guess. But this alchemist makes lots of potions with secret chemicals and ingredients. He puts them in a big pot to make his spells. A bit like a witch puts the ingredients and potions into a cauldron or a pot. So let's read about the alchemist. He's a male witch, a conjurer, something like that. There lives an old man at the top of the street, and the end of his beard reaches down to his feet. And he's just the one person I'm longing to meet. I think that he sounds so exciting, for he talks all the day to his tortoiseshell cat, and he asks about this and explains about that. And at nights he puts on a big wide-awake hat and sits in the writing room writing. He has worked all his life and he's terribly old. At a wonderful spell which says, lo and behold, your nursery fender is gold, and it's gold, or the tongs or the rod or the curtain, but somehow he hasn't quite got hold of it yet, or the liquid you pour on it first isn't right. So that's why he works on it day and night after night, till he knows he can do it for certain. I think he's trying to turn metal into gold. I'll do one more, then sleep, okay? A lion has a tail, and a very fine tail, and so has an elephant, and so has a whale, and so has a crocodile, and so has a quail. They've all got tails but me. Have you got a tail?
Huh?
Have you got a tail?
No.
If I had sixpence, I would buy one. I'd say to the shopman, let me try one. I'd say to the elephant, this is my one. They'd all come round to see. Then I would say to the lion,
What is a tail?
I don't know, he wants to buy a tail. And
What is a tail?
then I would say to the lion, why, you've got a tail, and so has the elephant, and so has the whale. And look, there's a crocodile. He's got a tail. You've all got tails like me. And that must be the end. Now that really was the last one. He's wearing a feather for a tail. Okay, now stop. Good night.
Oh.
That was a few stories you've never had before.